Hey everyone, what's up? This is Uri for Guerrilla Poker, and recently I reviewed a three-handed session with a few hands from some of the all-stars, Stefan, Nacho, and Muniz, and as the session progressed, lots of money changed hands, and then the boss, Llinus, is he the old boss or the new boss? It's tough to say whether or not Stefan has dethroned him. Steps into the mix, and we now have four-handed, soon to be three-handed, because Nacho does not want to hang around with Llinus in the house. So yeah, let's get into reviewing some hands. Muniz raises to 2.25x from the cutoff. He's 600 deep, so he's been absolutely torching everyone at the table. Nacho defends the big blind. The boss folded his button, it looks like. 10-5 deuce rainbow. Really good board for Muniz. Nacho checks and Muniz fires third pot, again indicating something close to a range bet. Nacho check raises. If you don't know what check raising ranges look like, be sure to check out my check raising course. You can find the link in the description below. And Muniz calls. We get a 4 of hearts turn. 4 of hearts in terms of check raising ranges brings in some straights, right? So ace-3 and 3-6 are now straights. Nacho should have ace-3 offsuit and 6-3 suited in there sometimes. And given the board's 10-5 deuce, these are his main draws, right? All the gut shots surrounding the 4. And the kind of cool thing about the draws being this low is that other than ace-3, Muniz doesn't actually have the straight draws. So this is kind of an asymmetrical draw completing card. Nacho treats it as such by overbetting on a turn, which Muniz decides to call. We get the 7 of clubs river. Nacho keeps up the story that he's turned the nuts or flopped the nuts with a set, shoves the river. Muniz with a call, and Nacho shows down ace-3, one of the straights we mentioned, and certainly in practice the absolute nuts, because Muniz will not have 3-6 in his range. And Muniz shows down pocket 6s, which, if you think about it, you're blocking 3-6, so it makes sense in that regard. You're definitely beating all the bluffs. Blocking 6-8, in case Nacho check raised with this kind of spicy backdoor. And yeah, you are losing to sets. It's not like, I don't think this is an exciting bluff catch. I wouldn't call this a mandatory bluff catch. I actually think it's kind of loose, but I can see the logic behind it. Did not work out this time. Jumping to the next hand, I have actually a 5-bet BVB pot with again Llinus sitting on the sidelines. Muniz raises to 300, Stefan goes 9 big blinds, Muniz 2700, Stefan 5k, and Muniz calls. So we have a BVB 5-bet pot, where Stefan's range is presumably something like aces, kings, ace-king, and some bluffs, with not every combo of ace-king in there. And Muniz's range just flatting, maybe he has a few traps, but mostly he's gonna have kind of linear looking value 4-bet, so maybe he 4-bet queens or jacks or ace-king or king-queen or whatever hand he did, and then felt like he can flat given the pot odds. So we get a jack 8-3 rainbow board, and given the tightness of the ranges, given it's a 5-bet pot, this is not that different from like a 3-6-8 board, and that Stefan's range is not really going to connect with this very often. Of course he's going to have all the overpairs, right? But like his bluffs are not going to connect often. So Muniz checks, Stefan goes quarter pot, Muniz calls, turn queen of spades, Muniz checks, Stefan goes with another small bet, and Muniz calls again. And we get the king of spades river, and Muniz decides to donk shove for about half pot remaining, which Stefan does call. Does a donk shove make sense? Generally, you want to be donk betting rivers on cards where something a bit asymmetrical happened. So you would expect this to devalue a lot of your opponent's range so that he'll slow down and you make lots of new value hands and you pick up the pace. Is that the case on the king of spades? I wouldn't be sure. I think aces slows down for Stefan, specifically. and aces is certainly a lot of his 5-bet range. So maybe in that regard this does make sense. I would not be sure, because I imagine Stefan, kings is not slowing down, queens is not slowing down, it's just aces. Is that enough? Maybe, maybe not. None of us has really simmed these kind of spots. There are too many of them. So maybe after the hand they can study the principles, see what they think. Be that as it may, showdown. So Llinus has king jack of hearts. Everything fits, right? This is his 4-bet bluff, so to speak. Thinks he can flat the 5-bet. Check calls his top pair. Again, you could check raise sometimes for protection, but you're not really ahead of any value hands, since Stefan is going to have, bluffs and overpairs pretty much. Check calls a turn. Again, still beating bluffs, getting nice pot odds. This seems reasonable. And then river make 2-pair, you're blocking kings, you beat aces, certainly a hand that makes sense intuitively to donk bet with. Whether or not that's a real strategic thing in this spot, I don't really know. And Stefan shows up with pocket aces, so, you always 5-bet that. And the rest of the hand, the only questions you could ask are, is this a best bet sizing, and really who knows? It's a 5-bet pot, but seems reasonable. And second question is, do you want to bluff catch the river, since you're not beating any value? And here, personally, spot doesn't seem very exciting to bluff catch with aces. You do not have any relevant blocker to anything. It's not like Llinus is going to show up with ace-10 here. Even a backdoor flush came in, which I just noticed a bit late, which makes donk betting makes more sense, and you don't have a spade. So yeah, this feels like pretty much the worst hand Stefan could show up with on the river to bluff catch with. No relevant blockers, not beating any value hands. Doesn't look good to me, but aces are sometimes tough to get away from. As we keep going, it looks like Stefan and Llinus have actually started a heads-up table on the side in addition to the 6-max table. Amazing stuff. Really interesting. So we'll see how many of the hands we can cover in this video. So first one, Llinus goes 2.5x, Stefan defends the big blind. We get a queen I9 rainbow board. Llinus fires with a third dish pot bet, 30% bet to be exact. Stefan calls. Turn 8 of spades. Stefan donk bets for 1/3 pot. Now, can you donk bet on the 8 of spades? The answer there is going to be no. You can't donk bet on the 8 of spades. And Stefan is making these moves that, don't really make sense. We've seen him do these a lot. In theory, you shouldn't have a donk betting range here, but as other people have said, kind of like, what are you going to do about it? Do you know how to react properly to me having a donk betting range? Because if you don't, this is going to work out just fine for me. So Stefan donk bets 1/3, Llinus calls, and we get the river 7 of hearts. Stefan donk bets 1/3 again. Llinus raises 5x, Stefan 3-bets, and Llinus calls. And we have a $12,300 pot. Stefan shows up with king 9. So rather than check raising, he decided to check call and then donk bet twice and 3-bet over the raise, hoping to get some really thin value. But Llinus shows him the bad news with a turned open-ender, rivered straight. Really not too much to say here. Stefan's play super unorthodox, but kind of makes sense for his hand strength if he thinks Llinus doesn't have straights. But given this board has Jack 10, 10-6, and 6-5, I feel like Stefan might have overplayed his hand a little bit, but it's tough to know, and this is the thing with Stefan having studied this line better than me and ranges being really wide. Maybe this is actually okay. Llinus, bet flop, call turn, raise river, versus a small 3-bet. I mean, given the result, obviously you have to call this. Had I not seen the result, I would be a little bit scared that I might not be beating value, but I wouldn't be confident enough to fold. So yeah, I think very standard play by Llinus, who rakes in a nice pot. Okay, next hand. Llinus goes 2.5x, Stefan 3-bets, roughly 5x from the big blind, which Llinus calls, and we get an ace queen 3 two-tone board. And Stefan fires out a relatively big bet, certainly not range betting. What Stefan is doing here is kind of leveraging his advantage in the realm of ace king, ace queen, ace jack, and just trying to push in stacks with those types of hands, generally as fast as he can. And the idea is, this denies equity from flush draws and gut shots and middle pairs very, very effectively. And when you do this, you have to have a checking range because you can't do this with your full range. And then you have to protect your checking range, so you have to check some strong hands. Pocket aces jumps out as one that probably always gets checked. And yeah, there's this entire strategy behind it. You don't actually see it very often in practice because it's more complicated to implement. But this is, Stefan's bread and butter strategy, I think. The one he started out crushing with. So, turn Queen of Clubs. Queen of Clubs changing the entire picture in terms of ranges. Because Stefan's range was not a range bet, he actually doesn't have a million queens, and Llinus will have a lot more than him. So we see Stefan checking, slowing down, Llinus checking back, river 8 of clubs, Stefan bets small, Llinus shoves, now small bet by Stefan, presumably an ace, maybe not ace-king, because I feel like ace-king could go bigger. Llinus's shove is presumably trips or a bluff. And yeah, results don't disappoint. Llinus showing up with queen 10, which, calls flop. I could see flop being close. I don't know if this is supposed to always call or not, but with a backdoor flush draw, probably always call. Turn he decides to trap. Makes sense. You want to be doing that some of the time, because otherwise Stefan could just shove all his aces on the river if you bet all your trips on the turn. And then Stefan going for the small bet on the river, respecting the fact that Llinus knows how to slow play, so actually giving the boss some respect. Llinus shoving the queen 10, and Stefan bluff catching with ace 10, pure bluff catch. Again, showing Llinus the respect that he thinks Llinus is capable of finding bluffs here, which certainly a lot of players are not. And yeah, we have another nice hand between these two top players. That's probably enough for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.